you have to have clarity of
clarity
what is and what you can do.
Yeah.
Like that has to be, you have to have realistic expectations and realistic goals to where you are currently, not where you were, but where you are.
Yeah.
And that's yeah.
Developing that self-awareness. Yeah. So
all good athletes. That's what any.
Yeah, but how do you lead an athlete to that place who maybe isn't realistic with themselves all the time, or has?
I think
really
this could
high
be applied
expectations?
to not just athletes, but people who are just trying to get healthy and fit.
Right.
When they want to
Life
be
in general, really.
Yeah, when they want to be, when they get to the gym and they started it for health and fitness, and they just turn it into this competitive craziness.
Yeah.
Hey, I see you sitting there, lonely by your keyboard. If you want to, just whip your fingers out, put them on your keys. Type in http://www.barbellshrugged.com. While you're there, swing on over, sign up for the newsletter. We'll send you some cool free stuff, and make sure to check out Overtime. It's a sweet place with a bunch of sweet stuff. And last but not least, I know you're trying to find a bitchin' t-shirt to get your mom for her birthday. Head on over to merch.barbellshrugged.com.
Stop. Just stop.
Sub-Zero. Reading.
Gonna kill you.
Shame, son.
Welcome to Barbell Shrug. I'm your host, Mike McGoldrick, here with Kurt Mulligan.
The Scooty-Doo guy.
Use your voice. Hey. Coach Mike McElroy and Alex McElroy. I did it again. We're all coaches, but I just like calling him Coach Mike McElroy.
Coach Mike.
Here at Hit and Run, downtown Memphis, once again. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to stop obsessing the result in your training and how to start enjoying the practice of it.
How to have fun.
How to actually have fun
or
again.
bring the fun back if you've been lacking fun.
Absolutely. So if you're someone who is kind of dreading going to the gym and you just find yourself running through the motions.
Or just a complete basket case.
Yeah.
When it comes to like training. I know some people who are like that, personally. I'm not going to name who they are, but like basket cases, like shit freaks them out and they can't. They like freeze up and can't perform.
Yeah. So when we were writing the notes for this show, Alex brought up a paragraph that was written that Barbell Shrug posted.
Not a paragraph, it's a poem.
Okay, a poem.
Did you go to school?
in the form of a paragraph?
I wouldn't even know what kind of poem to call this. I was trying to think of it. It's not a haiku or anything, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the point is that when we read it, it was like it resonated perfectly with the notes.
Should I read it?
Yeah, I think so. It went along perfect with what we were taking notes down for.
So I got my Chris Moore posted this on Instagram a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna mispronounce this guy's name, but it's Chuang Su or whatever.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, I'm part Asian and I just totally screwed that up. But the poem is called "The Need to Win," and the need to win. When an archer is shooting for nothing, he has all his skill. If he shoots for a brass buckle, he is already nervous. If he shoots for a prize of gold, he goes blind. Or sees two targets, he is out of his mind. His skill has not changed, but the prize divides him. He cares. He thinks more of winning than of shooting, and the need to win drains him of power.
Oh, man. So powerful. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just like we were saying a second ago, being obsessed with that outcome can completely cloud your judgment and change the actual process. So if you're someone who's so focused on that number you're hitting that day when you go into the gym, it's going to completely throw you off. I've had that same experience several times when I go to the gym, and I have so much pressure on myself for the performance that I feel like I need to put out that it ruins the training session. Yeah. I find myself rushing through it. Like I find myself moving through stuff so fast to get it done just so I can be like, I got to hurry up and get there so I can like get that performance out and then I'm done.
Do you go into the gym, like into your training, like with a goal in mind, like for each day, or is it more just you just want to put the work in? Or was that how you were? Is that how you are
varies.
now?
It varies. You know, it used to be different. It used to be like I'm just going to go in and throw every single thing at it that I can. And, you know, some days are like that and it's that simple. And then some days when you have tests coming up, for example, like if it's like a max out Friday or something, your expectations are like through the roof.
Yeah.
And it's good to be nervous because that's where you set,
that's where adrenaline comes in.
Yeah, I mean, you need that, but at the same time, like doing that all the time can really exhaust you and take a lot of the fun out of it. And especially if you're someone who's not competing. Like if you're just someone who's training to be healthy and fit, like that's really bad.
Yeah, focusing on the process, like in the poem or the paragraph, focusing on actually shooting. So focusing on the process of what you're doing. So maybe you're snatching or maybe you're squatting or whatever. And instead of focusing on maybe necessarily the end result, but focusing on good movement pattern and the task, being completely present with what you're doing, just focusing on the task at hand instead of what's going on around it and what's going on around you.
And I don't want people to think that like we're saying like don't try to like be good at something or don't try to be the best. Like I feel like for me personally, like I'm always going to try to be the best that I can be and do
all that you can be.
Exactly. and put 100% into it. However, the difference is that I know like what realistic stuff is and what's achievable, and there's gonna be days where it's just not going to, the dominoes are not gonna fall where they want, and so where you want. So like that is part of the process, like the struggle and the challenges. That's what makes the end result, whether if it comes tomorrow or if it comes 6 months from now, that's what makes the end result so much sweeter.
Right.
And if you're only focused on that end result, then it's going to just completely drain you of energy. It's going to rob you of energy because you're not going to have enough energy to focus on, just being present in your training, like we had talked about in another episode,
Yeah, Kurt and I talked about that on the way here. Like, I have a lot of clients, and then days that I have specific weightlifting practice for them, they go in and we have like some percentages they have to hit, and like a lot of times I'll see video and they just like fail. They're like, I couldn't hit it today, and I'm like, well, you got to recognize that, and at least you might have to change on the fly. Like, this is not a day where I'm chasing a number. This is a day where I'm doing damage control, and at least change the mindset where like, you know what, like, the number's not there. I'm not setting the record today, so the best I can do is leave here a better weightlifter. Yeah. At least like practice that movement to perfection and being okay with that, because every day you go in is not going to be a day where you're trying to best your 1RM.
Yeah, for me, and you've mentioned a couple of times when we brought this topic up and preparing for this, is like, what are you trying to prove? And for me, it's the difference in like when I was training to compete and where I had that shift, because I did get into this phase where I just wasn't having fun. It was the difference in doing it with internal motivation, and it was all about, this is what I want to go for just something I want to achieve and something I want to do, and to be the push to be the best that I can be, versus when that shift happened to where I wasn't having fun anymore, it was because the pressure was all coming from external pressure that I was putting on myself. Nobody else was doing it, but I thought I had to live up to the standard. So I had to be this competitive athlete, and I had to be hitting these numbers because everybody was expecting it. So the motivation was coming from outside instead of just within. This is what I want to do. This is what my goals are going forward.
I'd say that's where I've been for quite some time now. Is just, there's a lot of pressure on the outside. I feel like I have to live up to something, and man, you don't every day in the gym.
Yeah.
You don't have those days every day. I'm talking about dominoes stacking up in the gym. They don't. Yeah. It's not there every day.
So what do you like? How does it make you like? How does it affect you when you feel like all that pressure? Like what is it?
I think it does. It
Tell
takes
me about your feelings.
It takes the fun is really has been gone out of training for a while. Show up, go through the movements, and if I don't hit those percentages, I feel less. And unfortunately, as a weightlifter, like that's more often than not. You're not gonna hit all your percentages all the time every day.
Well, especially when you're only doing 2 lifts, right? Like, I mean, there's only so much you can do in your training. Like, I'm not saying like various types of the lifts, but like snatch and clean and jerk is really the only 2, and squat the goals that you're after. So it's not that much variance.
So being like the lone weightlifter in your gym, you're in the corner by yourself chasing basically chasing these 2 numbers.
Yeah.
You run into that same wall over and over again.
Yeah, I feel like in that situation, like having all that external pressure, like it's just gonna drive you crazy.
Yeah, and you build it up. Yeah, it's not really there.
It's not real.
It's going to carry over into multiple aspects, of your training, of your personal life, your relationships with people. Like there's sometimes, like I've known some people that they get so worked up because of so much pressure that they actually, so like they'll be preparing for a competition. I have known people to like dodge out, like, oh, they just drop out, like, out of a competition, like out of the last minute, because there's just so much pressure that they're just like, I can't do this, and they can. It's just they make that pressure on themselves, and it just ruins their chance for any kind of good experience.
Right. Or what about athletes that, we'll use like the Open, for example, that cheat scores. And I don't mean to cheat to like actually like get to like regional or like to do better, but they almost cheat because they have an expectation in their head, or they view themselves. Right. They don't have the self-awareness, of maybe where their talent is, that they can't accept the reality that that's like where they stack up. Yeah. Right. So you see people cheat because of that, or not even face it, not even do it, not even show up. Like they just completely bail out.
Yeah. Like what you were saying.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that's awful, because you got to revisit why you're doing this again in the first place, and a lot of that pressure is, self-inflicted.
Yeah, like what do you like you said, McElroy, like what do you have to prove? What is so important? Like think back, like what is the reason why you got involved in this in the first place?
How can we get back to that?
Yeah, how can you get back to that? Because that's what then when you first started, that's what made it fun, and that's what made it exciting. And when you lose sight of that, then it just becomes, I don't know, it just becomes terrible.
Yeah, there's no way to explain it. Yeah, I mean, my experience came during the Open when I went through this transition and kind of had to bounce back from it. And it was exactly that. I completely lost the fun. I wasn't doing it for what I was doing, and I had gotten to this point where I was training with a coach that we just weren't meshing well together. Yep. I was basically overtraining, whether it was from necessarily just the training or other stuff that was going on in my life too, which also plays a factor in this. But everything was building up, and I just had a complete breakdown during the Open. Yeah. And I participated, but like I threw a fit, like my wife had never seen before, and like luckily only a few people were in the gym. It was a complete breakdown, and basically, I mean, I had to go and like sit behind the building for a while and figure out like, okay,
and this is exercise.
And like, this is just exercise, just training.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's basically like
what am I doing?
It's an identity crisis, and like my identity is in Christ, and it's not in this performance, and that's where people get confused. Is they put all their identity in this performance instead of something that's actual confirmed and something that's concrete. They get this temporary identity and performance.
It doesn't define you. I can remember Rich Froning, like they had an interview with him, and he said something similar to you, like training and CrossFit does not define who he is. Right. Like there are other things, and like his faith and his family and all this other stuff. That's who he is. And so like when he like has defeat, it's not something that's gonna like. He's not gonna go crazy about it, like, because I've seen this happen before, like the tantrums of like people just, you miss your lift and it's like you're 80%, you have a rough day and you're like, and you just blow up,
and you look like a 2-year-old. I kicked the box and like stormed outside.
Did you kick the chalk bucket?
I didn't have a chalk bucket. I kicked the box.
You know what though? I'm gonna bring the other side to that. So I believe that you kind of have to flirt with that line too if you're trying to chase greatness, like in your head, or if you're trying to reach the highest level. So like, not saying it's good or bad, but like, where do you draw that line? Because I mean, if you're chasing, if you're trying to make the CrossFit Games, like you're gonna have to sacrifice some things, and you're gonna have to be somewhat obsessed.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say relationships are gonna be the best. I'm not gonna say that you're gonna see your friends all the time. A lot of people might look at that as sacrifice and obsession, but to you, it's like, no, like this is what I'm after.
Right.
Right. But then what? Like, so let's say you do get that, we talked about that on another video, like that coming down from that. That's where people I see have a big problem with the adjustment. So they have that expectation now that everyone sees them as this high level athlete, and then they have to they feel like they have to live that for forever, or however many years they're still competing. But what if you're just done? Like, what if you don't want to do it anymore? Do you fall into that? Do you, like you said, like you had that expectation, I had to keep putting this out in the open, and man, it like destroyed you.
Yeah. So for me personally, I mean, like I said, my identity lies in Christ and my faith in Christ, and He tells us to do everything we do for the glory of Him. And if I'm doing everything that I can, like I'm doing it for Christ, then that means putting forth my full effort into anything I'm doing. So whether it's work, whether it's my relationships, whether it's working out, I'm putting forth full effort for that reason, not for the outcome.
Sounds like a more of an intrinsic motivator.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
it's the process. It's the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like,
because I have that motivation, the higher motivation, I have to put forth full effort, or else I'm doing him a disservice, and that's what my intrinsic motivation comes from. So the result doesn't really matter. It's just that I'm putting forth everything that I possibly can, and that's where the fun is. You're seeing what your body's capable of, what your limits are.
I'll share a personal experience. After having a couple of really good years in CrossFit, coming back down has been really difficult. And it's not that I'm quitting or whatever. It's just that the priorities have shifted, and accepting that was really difficult because to me, I feel like everyone sees like, oh, games athlete, he's got to go do this. And like, that's a lot of pressure. And it actually did not allow me to enjoy competing anymore. Right. Like the only time I wanted to compete is if I thought I was going to win.
Right.
And unfortunately, like, I always want to win, and I'll never not want to win because I'm super competitive. But I stopped competing because of that, and it kind of ate me up. So getting back to that has been a long process, and
it's tough too because people put the pressure. Like, I mean, I myself have asked, every time I see you,
it's your fault.
It's my fault.
No.
but I mean, every time you go to a gym or something, people are going to ask you about when are you competing next, when are you doing the grid next.
And you know what? I'm just gonna have to learn to politely say, like, I'm probably not doing that right now. And I may not be done competing; it may come back, but for right now, that's not the focus.
Right.
Some of the hardest things that I did was, or actually what's helped me get through it was I went to some training camps with people, some really high-level athletes, and actually going to them, I'm like, it's just a training camp, but I was scared shitless because I'm like, I'm about to be exposed now. Yeah. Like, they're going to see where my level is now. And you know what? Like, that's a reality I had to face, and it took so much pressure off, honestly. And now it's fun again, and I'm excited. I'm excited to do the open. Right. I don't care anymore. Right. So, like, all that pressure is gone, and it was awesome.
So you said face reality. What was that kind of reality that you had to kind of come to terms with?
You know what? I think maybe like it's, people have their time and their phases as they go through it. And CrossFit's one of those things that it's like, it's very short for a lot because people get better every year. Yeah. It's hard on the body. Life changes. You work more. You have more stressors. It's not always going to be the same. So maybe facing the reality that, I'm just not at that level or maybe as fit as I was. And having to accept that was difficult.
Right. I think too, on top of that, maybe because I've kind of had a similar experience, that not only do you face the reality that you're maybe not quite where you were or be able to hang with them, but also what it takes to do that. And my reality check was I'm not in a position to be willing to put forth that effort to be in that
that's
position. So if that's the case, then I have to give it up.
Yeah, that's how I, felt better about it. Was like, I look back to when I was training like that, and I'm like, I just can't do that now.
I don't want to do it anymore.
So I'm like, well, it's not like I'm quitting. Like, I literally can't do that now. Now, I'm not saying this for all athletes. Like, there are some athletes out there, like the Jason Kalipas, who have like 6 jobs and can go win the CrossFit Games every year. It's crazy, unbelievable, and like, by all means, like, keep doing that. But you got to figure out what you can do personally, and that's all you can handle.
If you're someone who has a lot of problems with longer Metcons, pacing, breathing in longer workouts, it could even be, recovering in between workouts. Like, so if you're doing multiple sessions a day, you're probably going to need some aerobic development work, right? So we came up with a really good program that's going to help you get better at breathing, teach you a little bit about pacing. So, if you're someone who starts a 20-minute AMRAP, and you start out with a really good pace, and then 5 minutes in, you have no control, you've already hit a wall, and you're just suffering for 15 minutes. This program's really going to help you dial in that pacing and getting comfortable in longer workouts. Right, so a lot of people spend a lot of time on strength programs. They know they need to get stronger for workouts, but what most people aren't doing is doing dedicated aerobic programs, right? So no one's really spending time getting down to the nitty-gritty and actually doing this kind of development work. This program is really straightforward. It's like 30 to 45 minutes a day, a couple of days a week, and it's going to really help you in longer workouts. It's going to help you recover faster after shorter, intense workouts, and it's going to allow you to actually do a whole lot more volume. So to use myself as an example, I was doing long Metcon after long Metcon, which intuitively that makes sense, but I was not seeing a lot of improvement. And the year I went to the games, I actually started following an aerobic engine program, right? So I actually got down into the details and spent some time on development there. So we've all seen strength programs. Everyone loves to follow strength programs, but rarely do we spend time working the aerobic engine as a program. Aerobic engine! Okay, here's how you do it. 12 weeks long, 3 days a week, at least 30 to 45 minutes a day, right? You're going to need a rower for this. So this is specifically built to be done on a rower. Doesn't mean you can't do it with running or biking, but I'm just saying that everything we designed here is to be done on a rower. So like all the percentages, all the pacing, all the time frames, get a rower. Get a rower. Again, the main goals here are building the aerobic engine, which is going to help improve in longer Metcons, right? So in the very beginning, Meso 1, we're going to do some testing. We're going to test your 5K row, right? And then for the next few weeks in that Meso, we're going to learn a lot about pacing. We're going to teach you how to breathe better. We're going to teach you how to kind of control your engine so you don't if you're someone who has a lot of problems going out the gate really hard and then just kind of tanking, this Meso is dedicated to teaching you how to control that better. And Meso 2, right? So the next 4 weeks, we're going to build volume, right? So we've already started here with pacing and base. We're going to build more volume and more intensity. We're just going to add a lot to it, right? So you've got some control now, you understand pacing, and we're just going to make it a little bit harder. And then the third and final Meso, again, you've understood pacing. We've done an initial test. We know where we're at. We've built volume and intensity. Now we're going to start adding even more intensity, and then we're going to taper a little bit so the volume's going to drop, and then we're going to retest at the end of that 12 weeks. So we're really excited about this program because it's an easy way to build your aerobic engine. It's going to make you better in longer Metcons, and then we have a really simple way for you to set up the testing and then follow it so you can really see if you've made improvement. So, for example, if you take something like a 20-minute AMRAP like Nate with a bunch of muscle ups and handstand push-ups, right? We don't want to use that as a test for this because you could get better at handstand push-ups and do no aerobic training and do better in that Metcon. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily better, your aerobic engine is any better. Aerobic engine! So using something simple like a 5K row and then retesting that 12 weeks later is going to really tell you if your breathing and your motor is actually better. All right, so as I mentioned, we've all done strength programs, and look, there's a reason why a lot of people haven't done these aerobic programs yet, because they're not a lot of fun. But this program, we've set it up to where everyone in the forum is going to be doing it. They're going to be posting results, so it's going to be almost like a really fun challenge, right? 12 weeks long, you start, you get to the end, you retest, you compare with others and with yourself. If you want to continue to be an old sucking air through a straw through someone's butt, can't breathe, 2 rounds in a 20-minute AMRAP looking ass, this program probably isn't for you then. People are going to love you because your heart muscle is going to grow. No.
You have to have clarity of clarity what is and what you can do.
Yeah.
Like that has to be, you have to have realistic expectations and realistic goals to where you are currently, not where you were, but where you are.
Yeah.
And that's yeah.
Developing that self-awareness. Yeah. So let's.
all good athletes. That's what any.
Yeah, but how do you lead an athlete to that place who maybe isn't realistic with themselves all the time, or has?
I think
really
this could
high
be applied
expectations?
to not just athletes, but people who are just trying to get healthy and fit.
Right.
When they want to
life
be
in general, really.
Yeah, when they want to be, when they get to the gym and they started it for health and fitness, and they just turn it into this competitive craziness.
Yeah.
Right. Like we talked about that on an episode. Is CrossFit becoming too competitive?
Nuggets and pearls, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And overtime.
So it was just like, I don't even know where I was going with that, but bringing that point up, how do you talk someone kind of to chill out a little bit and to understand, like, look, this is where you are, and like it's good to chase goals, but like you're not a professional athlete.
Yeah. I think a couple of things is one, trying to, like we mentioned to earlier, is getting back to what your original reason for participating in whatever you're doing is, whether it's competing or whether it's just the classes or whatever your goal is, going back to that original reason of why, because usually that original reason of why was an internal reason. And then also looking at where you've come from. So people start getting down on their goals and whatnot. We talked about that gap before in an episode or a Nuggets and Pearls or something, but looking at where you are now versus where you've come and seeing that progress usually helps fuel that fire a little bit too.
I think as a coach too, you kind of have to, like, this is the job of a coach.
Yeah.
If you think coaching is just programming and writing workouts, you are mistaken. That you are a counselor, like, to your clients, and I think a lot of it too is sometimes you may have to dig a little bit deeper,
and peel back the layers,
and figure out there's if they have so much going on, there may be something else that's going on, not even in the gym, like maybe something on in their personal life that's causing them to, this is their outlet, and if they don't achieve, greatness here, they're not feeling like they're achieving what they want in their personal life or anything like that, or something else is going on. So you might have to peel back the layers a little bit and dig.
Yeah.
And it may be helping shift, and we mentioned shifting, finding new goals.
Yeah.
Or new priorities.
New priorities.
Right.
in
So
your training
there
to make
comes
it
a
fun.
point when one thing I wanted to add too is when you peel back something like that, like I feel like my need as a coach is not necessarily to help them through that if it's something that deeply personal, but just to bring awareness to it. Because I don't like crossing those kind of lines. Like sometimes you need to go see a psychiatrist. Is what it comes down to. Like you need to talk.
You need
to
somebody.
You need to talk to somebody. But you can only help so much as a coach. So I think it's important. The point being just to bring awareness to it, to you realize like, look, it has nothing to do with the gym. This is your home. This is outside of it. This is your life that you need to adjust first.
Yeah.
Then everything else might fall back in line. But so other than that, what if you don't have a coach? What if you're training in the gym and you're unhappy at that gym, or the program that you're on you're just unhappy with? Like, what do you do? Do you change goals? Do you bail out? Yeah, like how can you make that more fun? So you talked about earlier, you've lost a lot of spark in the training because you're by yourself all the time, and we were just exploring ideas on what would help. So you got any experience with that?
I mean, I think if it's an environmental thing, I mean, you got to look at changing the environment. Find some people, go out and seek out some people that you can train with, or shift like I said, temporarily shift your goals to where you can get in with the class or something. Maybe you just say, hey, I'm not enjoying being by myself, doing just weightlifting, or doing just maybe it's still doing CrossFit, but an individual design. I'm just not having fun with it. Jump back into the class and have some fun with it. And then even if you have to shift gears completely, like I've had to do because of my injury, I can't do some of the things I've had to do. So to be able to enjoy it, I've had to shift gears and try to master something else, some other kind of skill in my training that's new and fun to try to achieve, because I'm not super good at it anymore.
Yeah, there's been times when I've come in, or maybe I've been hurt, or didn't feel that strong in weightlifting, and I'm like, screw it, I'm going to go kill a handstand today. Like, just find something to change the focus, and maybe the focus shifts towards, I'm going to go in and get as good a sweat as I can, or I'm going to go in and work as hard as I can regardless of the score. And sometimes maybe run into the problem that it's a workout you've done before and you know what your standard is on that. So that creates stress too. Like, let's say you go in and do Grace and you're like, well, I know my Grace time, so if I don't beat it, I'm like, my day's ruined, right? Like, your time on that, so it's like, shit, if I don't beat this, it's ruined.
Yeah, it may not even be
change the
comparing
weight.
your time.
Change
it
it
may
up.
just be like, I'm going to take a month and not take a time down at all.
Yeah.
So I can't compare
Remove
the
the
scoreboard.
clock.
I can't hear my reps.
Not everything has to be your
Scored.
absolute PR best. I talk
It's
about.
not going to be eventually.
No, exactly. Like, I was talking to some friends of mine, and she was getting ready to do a powerlifting meet, and she was putting all this like pressure on like this meet, and it's just for practice. Like, to her, like, she's super hyper competitive. Like, she wants to like PR and set these records and stuff. But like, it's not like that important. Like, just view it as practice. Go have fun, and that's when you'll probably even do better. Like, Travis.
Simplify it.
Yeah, Travis Mash. He's my weightlifting coach, and when I was going to American Open. And I was really nervous because, I just came back off an injury and I wasn't really performing that great. And I mean, I was really, there was all this pressure I was putting on myself, because I was about to do my shit on the stage, right? And so he was like, man, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Like, the people that have the most fun and just go out there and have fun, those are the people who probably do well anyways.
Yep.
So, like, if you stress out and freak out about this, you're probably going to put yourself into a worse performance than you would just going out and just having fun and not really thinking too much on it.
Right. I mean, Khalifa, you mentioned him earlier. He's a perfect example of that. I mean, you've been around him at the games. Like, he seems like he's having the most fun of anybody out there.
That's how it should be.
One of the reasons he keeps doing so well.
If you compete or train,
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. No, I have much respect for someone like that. I mean, it's easier said than done. Like, we're just like, don't stress it, but it's practiced. You're not going to all of a sudden listen to this episode and just be like, bang, I'm over it. This may be the stepping point that's going to help you get there.
Right.
I think it's more that you just need that reminder.
Yeah.
That's more. I mean, we all like, shit, man. I still do it sometimes, but you have to consciously remind yourself, like, all right, look, just chill out. It's not that big of a deal. Just go have fun. And,
Well, that poem, it said it best. Like, I mean, and it summed up. It said, doing the practice without any concern of the outcome.
Right.
And that's so powerful. That could be translated actually into so many things, really. Like doing it just to do it. and remember that it's
just
about
to learn
being,
from it's about the learning experience. That's what's fun.
Honestly, you're being
right.
present in it, like not to get too philosophical, but like you are being present in the movements that you're doing at that time, and like to remember that, and it takes a lot of the pressure away. So I mean, what's some advice you can give to someone who might be stuck here right now? Like, what are some steps you can take? Like, for me, I always tell people, like, go create your own version of what it is to you exactly to be healthy.
Yeah.
Like write it down, take some time, really think about it.
Don't rush through it.
Is it not, try not to focus on numbers, think long term, like what is it exactly that's healthy to you? And you can create your own version of that. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Like anything you've done with clients.
I mean, it's such a kind of a cliche thing now to start with why I like the book, but I mean, that's really what I try to get them to do is go back and figure out, why are you doing this? Why are you coming to the gym? Why is it important to snatch and clean and jerk X, or why is it important to hit a 2-minute time on Grace, or why what's your motivation? Why are you doing this? And if you can get grounded in that, then nothing else is going to matter near as much. And reminded them, like we alluded to earlier, it's just working out. Mm-hmm. Like, in the end, it's just working out.
It's not. It's life or death. Okay.
It is exercise.
It's exercise. I mean, so I always remind them of that.
Anything you've used?
Basically what's kind of used. I mean, for me, I just feel like I set one big goal, and that's more what I focus on, and it's a thought out goal. It's not something like, whatever. It's I want to do this, I want to do this, and then I'm not stressing about the individual failures in between, as long as I'm progressing towards that. So even though I may fail one day, I know that I'm putting in the work to progress towards that. So you got to remind yourself too, like, as long as you're putting in the work and you're doing it consistently, like, you will get there. It may just not be tomorrow, or it may not be when you want it to be, but you will get there at some point. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. CTP just reminded me. Yeah, so there will be an episode of Barbell Shrugged Full Depth where we talk about my journey to Reno, which is American Open, which is one of my big goals.
Oh,
so,
cool, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll check that out.
It'll be on there.
So what about the group aspect of it? So community is like super important to me, regardless of how fancy and individualized the program is for you. Sometimes you're just not happy doing it because, like Kurt said, like you're on your own. So or what if that community isn't for you? What do? Do you switch gyms?
You got to surround yourself with good people. Regardless. I mean, like we always say, like you're the average of 5 people that you hang out with. Like you want to surround yourself with positive people who, like your tribe. Like they're on the same wavelength as you. They're not trying to bring you down. They're trying to uplift. So like. You have to, I think.
Yeah, if you're in a gym with a group of people that isn't supporting what you're doing, and that doesn't mean they're wrong necessarily. It just means that that's probably not for you. But, like, you got to recognize that and move on. Don't keep trying to fight it. Don't keep trying to make it fit, right? Your cheese moved.
Right. Well, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a local community. It can be a bigger community.
Right,
I think like for me with with business relationships and even training relationships, like my community goes outside of my gym because not everybody sees eye to eye on different things. So it may just be communicating through text messages constantly with people.
Connecting with people on forums or online on Facebook and things like that. Like that like finding some kind of community. So like especially if you have a home gym, like you don't have a physical present like community, but you can have one outside of that through online.
Yeah, I love it. The Barbell Shredded Group's a great example. So a lot of these guys are like garage gymmers, a lot of them just do their own workout in the corner, some of them at Globo gyms, and they all start the program at different times. And these guys have a extremely tight-knit community. They're in there every day helping each other out, and like it's because they all are heading on that same path. They're all moving in the same direction together. Right. Like it's perfect. It worked out great.
Yeah. I think having somebody to be with you on that is very crucial to having fun in your training. Because even still, like, all right, so like you could still have somebody like, oh yeah, I one-upped you on that one, like on the other day, like what you got, like that still makes it fun, you know. And as long as it's like a cool competitive type, not like, bro, like like always kind of just
Smashed
in your
you,
face.
bro.
Yeah.
I've seen people literally mad at someone, hate them because they get beat them in a workout, and it's like,
what is with that?
I don't know. It's crazy.
It's like oh, you ever seen this one? I see this one meme, Nike weightlifting, hilarious, right, on Instagram, and it's like when you see somebody warming up with your 1 rep max, it's like, and you give them like the stank eye, like what the, like why you mad? Like I mean,
it goes back to that. What do you have to prove, or what are you trying to prove?
Like it's probably because like, oh yeah, you're like the biggest and the baddest in your neck of the woods, but then somebody else comes along. But I think that's a good reminder, like that's like
always being humbled.
Yeah, I think being humbled also makes it fun too, because
that's the beauty of CrossFit.
Yeah.
Like you are humbled daily. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with weightlifting. Like you see people, you thought, oh shit, like damn, like I just got blown away.
The
like,
open is a humbling
I thought
experience.
I was strong.
Yeah,
and I'm not.
Well, I think that's another reason why people like to do the open, because it is a very challenging and a humbling experience, and you realize like, man, like, I've come a long way, but I still got a long way to go.
I think the open could be far more enjoyable if you remove the expectation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you are just so concerned with that placement, because honestly, if you're gonna chase that, you're never gonna be happy with it. Because like I've said before, I've said 100 times, like there's only one winner.
Right.
And I mean, it changes every year, so it's like you gotta
a moving target.
Yeah, it's a moving target, and you just have to have fun with it and treat it like that,
and
like what you said.
It can be a blast.
Yeah.
Before the internet, was everyone a local meet legend?
Probably.
Probably, yeah. Before Instagram, is probably everybody was probably like the biggest and
I'm
baddest.
so awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So I mean,
internet ruined everybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too.
Yeah.
Here,
Comparing
I'm gonna talk about this right now because yes, the internet has ruined a lot of stuff, and you just see all this stuff on the internet, and it's like you don't try to compare yourself so hard to that, like
to only PRs.
Yeah, to only PRs. People only post PRs online. Like they're not gonna post, like very rarely people post failures. So like you're not seeing like the 90% of the time, that it is. So like I would say if you want to have fun, like maybe just stay off the internet or just realize that that's what that is.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of athletes do that. They remove the Instagram account, like coming up to competition. They don't want to know what the other athletes are doing.
Really? I did not. Yeah, really?
Yeah. So
yeah.
I would practice that.
I would totally. I would straight up see what that makes total sense.
I mean, if you hit a PR snatch
smart.
that day and you go online, you see 2 or 3 other people do it.
Oh yeah.
I'll admit I've done it too. I've been like.
I trained with this one.
It's not as cool anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you'd never seen it, imagine how high you still would have felt after that.
I trained with this one girl, and she was like, "Yeah, I snatched this, or I clean and jerked this," and then I went on Instagram and I saw 3 other girls do it. I'm like, I compete against them, and she's like freaking herself out. I'm like, like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
So we touched on if you run into the issue where you've lost the fun in training, we gave you some ideas on how to really peel back the layers and figure out why that fun is gone. Some suggestions on
thrill is gone.
Yeah, is it community? is it maybe you're setting unrealistic expectations? Maybe you're not very self-aware. Maybe it's time to move on to a new goal. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people, especially like a specific sport like weightlifting or CrossFit, like if they've lost that passion for that, even though the ties of the community are so strong, they're so scared to let go of that. Like you got to recognize that. Like move on. It's okay. And if you want to come back, you come back. No big deal.
I think for the intro for the show, we should sing that song. You've lost that love and feeling from Top Gun. That's what we should do, right?
How's it go?
It's like you've lost that love.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't know you could do it. I can't believe you did it.
Whoa,
yeah,
I mean, anybody watch Top Gun, you know that shit.
I even know that song.
McElroy, God. All right, we need to make a list.
I even know that song.
Oh, you know that song.
The list is too long.
We need to make a list of all the movie references and movies that McElroy just sit you in a room one day.
All
and
of them.
Watch it.
I thought you were going to say the movies he hasn't seen. Cause it takes forever.
Yeah.
We'll just do a list. We'll do the top 10 most important films. I want to ask the fans, what are the top 10 most important films McElroy needs to see?
Yeah.
All right, so with that said, gave you some ideas as well on what steps to take to maybe try and resolve this. Go talk to a coach, switch gyms, switch communities, find a new program, change your goals. Sit down and write down, your idea of what fitness is, like what health is to you, and figure out if those things go in line with the path that you want to head toward.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I just think that self-assessment first before you start changing a lot of stuff, because we always don't change, don't
that's a
switch,
good point.
don't switch it up like too quick. Follow the program, follow the path, but
don't blame an outside source first.
Right. Don't. Yeah, it's not. Look inside first before you start trying to look outside, and then if it's something on the inside that's jacked up, then that's what you need to address.
Yep.
Outside stuff is not going to change.
Right.
So always look inside first.
Time.
I guess that's time.
Done.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.